All right, so are you ready to dive deep into ISO 9000?
Always ready for a quality deep
We've
dive.
got a ton of research here, articles about quality management, Lean Six Sigma, of
Yeah.
course, all about the ISO 9000 family itself.
It really is like the ultimate guide to
Yeah.
success for businesses.
To delivering
All right.
amazing products and services.
That's it. Like
Yeah,
a recipe book
it is.
for quality.
Okay, so
Yeah.
before we get too far,
Yeah,
let's just kind of set the stage for people.
sure.
What exactly is this ISO 9000 thing?
Okay.
And why should anyone even care?
So ISO 9000, it's not just one standard. It's like a whole family.
Oh, okay,
Right.
family of standards.
Yeah, think of it as a framework or like a blueprint for building a really great quality management system
Okay.
or a QMS.
QMS, got it.
And it's all about making sure your organization is consistently meeting your customer needs and expectations.
So it's like having a business that actually delivers on what it promises.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture of quality that like permeates every single aspect of an organization.
I like that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned customer needs and expectations.
Yeah.
That seems to be
It is.
really at the heart of this whole thing.
Yeah, customer focus is like one of the core principles of ISO 9000. It's really about truly understanding what your customer wants and needs, and not just like right now, but in the future as well.
Okay.
And that's how you build loyalty and have long-lasting success.
So customer focus is key, but there are more principles.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think our research said there's like 7 in total.
There are 7.
That's a lay it on me.
All right, so leadership.
Okay.
Leadership is about setting a very clear vision for quality and empowering all of your people to achieve it.
Got it.
And then there's the engagement of people,
Okay.
which, recognizes that the success of any company relies on its employees basically having competent and engaged individuals.
Right. And I'm guessing that ties into the next one, process approach,
Yes, it does.
to make sure everything's kind of running smoothly.
It's about seeing the organization as like a system
Okay.
of interconnected processes, and each one is contributing to the overall goal, which is quality.
All right. So we've got 3. What about the other 4?
Okay, so we've got improvement,
Mm-hmm.
which emphasizes the need for continuous improvement. It's not just a one-time thing, it's an ongoing commitment,
I like that. Always pushing for better.
always getting better. Then we have evidence-based decision-making.
Okay.
So that's about using data and analysis to make decisions rather than just relying on your gut feeling.
Makes sense.
And then we have relationship management,
Okay.
which emphasizes the importance of building strong relationships with all your suppliers and partners.
Oh, right. Because they're all part of that
They are all part of it,
chain.
the quality chain.
Okay. So those are the 7 guiding principles.
Yes.
How do we actually put them into practice?
Yes.
How do we build a quality management system that actually works?
Well, that's where ISO 9001 comes in. That provides a step-by-step guide
Tell me.
to design and implement a QMS that aligns with all those principles we just talked about.
Perfect.
It's a roadmap.
Lead the way.
Yeah.
What are some of those key milestones on this roadmap?
So first, you really have to understand your organization's context.
Okay.
So what are your strengths and weaknesses? What are some of the risks and opportunities you might face? Who are your stakeholders?
Got it.
What are their needs and expectations?
So it's like you're taking stock of your current situation
You got it.
before you even
Before you make any changes, yeah.
start to make changes.
You need to know where you're starting from so you can figure out where you need to go.
Okay, so we've kind of set the stage and defined the scope. Now what?
Well, you need strong leadership commitment.
Okay.
Like top management needs to be actively involved, demonstrating their support for quality and providing the resources that are needed.
Right.
They really set the tone for the whole organization.
One of the articles actually mentioned that leadership needs to walk the talk when it comes to quality.
Yeah,
Like that
it's a good one.
phrase.
Yeah, because words without actions are meaningless.
Right.
So leaders have to demonstrate that commitment through their decisions, their behaviors, their allocation of resources.
Okay, so we've got leadership on board.
Yeah.
Now, what about the actual building of the QMS?
Well, one of the key steps is process mapping.
Okay.
You have to identify, analyze, and document all of the processes that contribute to achieving your quality objectives.
Oh.
It's like creating a blueprint for how work gets done.
I'm picturing like a giant flow chart with all the different departments
Yes.
and activities
Yeah, you're on the right track.
connected.
Process mapping really helps you visualize the flow of work,
Okay.
identify potential bottlenecks, and make sure that everybody understands what their role is in the quality system.
So it's really about clarity and alignment across the entire organization.
Right. That's exactly right. And once you have those processes mapped out, You need to make sure you allocate the right resources.
Of course.
So everything from infrastructure to technology to competent, skilled personnel.
Right.
You need the right people in the right roles with the right tools to get the job done.
Speaking of competent personnel,
Well,
one of the articles really highlighted the importance of organizational knowledge.
yes.
What does that mean?
Well, it's all the collective wisdom, experience, and know-how
Okay.
that resides within the company. It's
Yeah.
like unspoken knowledge that's built up over years of experience.
Okay.
It's so valuable for making good decisions and driving innovation.
So it's like the collective brain power of the organization.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Mm.
recognizing that knowledge is a valuable asset
Right.
that needs to be nurtured and leveraged.
Okay, so we've got processes mapped.
Uh-huh.
We've got the resources allocated.
Yes.
We've got knowledge flowing. What's the final piece?
Well, the final piece is establishing a culture of continuous improvement. It means constantly seeking ways to enhance your processes, products, and services.
It's like a never-ending quest
It is.
for quality perfection.
Well, perfection might be elusive,
Right.
but the pursuit of it
Yes.
is what drives excellence. It's creating a culture where everybody is empowered to identify opportunities to improve and contribute to making things better.
Okay, so we got the framework, the principles, and the steps for building the QMS.
Yes.
But where does documentation fit into all this?
Documentation.
Regretted documentation.
It's often seen as like the less glamorous side
Right.
of quality management, but it's so essential. Think of it as the backbone of your QMS.
Okay.
It provides the structure and clarity needed for everything to work effectively.
One of the sources called it the operating manual for your quality system.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's a good one because
Yeah.
it ensures that everybody in the organization is on the same page using the same procedures and specifications.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Good.
Documentation is about creating clarity, consistency, and accountability
Yes.
within the QMS.
Yes.
But what kind of documents are we talking about? Give me some examples.
So you'll typically have a quality manual.
Okay.
It provides an overview of the organization's QMS
Okay.
and how it aligns with the ISO 9001 requirements.
Got it.
You'll have documented procedures
Uh-huh.
that outline step by step how specific processes are carried out, and then there are work instructions
Okay.
that provide even more detail
Oh, wow.
for specific tasks.
So it's like a hierarchy of information,
It is.
from the big picture to the small details.
Exactly. And then you need records to provide evidence of conformity.
Right.
To demonstrate that the QMS is working.
Got it.
So these records could include training logs, inspection reports, customer feedback forms.
So it's really about creating a system of record keeping that tracks every aspect of the QMS.
Precisely. And let me emphasize, document control is so important. You need a system to manage all these documents and make sure that they're up to date, readily accessible,
Right.
and that only authorized personnel can make changes.
One of the sources actually had a really interesting story about a company that made a very costly mistake
Yeah.
because they didn't properly document a change
Oh, yeah.
in their manufacturing process.
Yeah, those are the classic examples of why document control is so important.
Right.
You know, that company ended up producing a whole batch of faulty products
Wow.
because they didn't have clear records of the updated specifications.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So we've established that documentation is vital,
Uh-huh.
but how do we know if the system is actually working? How do we make sure that we're not just going through the motions?
Well, that's where internal audits come in.
Okay.
Think of them as like regular health checks.
Oh, like a doctor's checkup.
Exactly, for your QMS.
But for your quality management system.
That's right. Internal audits are conducted by trained individuals within the organization
Okay.
to verify that the QMS is conforming to all those requirements.
Got it.
But it's not just about checking boxes.
Right.
It's about making sure that the system is really working and delivering results.
So again, we're not just ticking boxes, but we're actually walking the walk
Absolutely.
when it comes to quality.
Internal audits are conducted objectively and impartially following a very defined audit plan.
Right.
They gather evidence through interviews, observations, review of documents and records. It's about getting a real sense of how that QMS is working.
It sounds like a detective investigation,
Yeah,
looking for clues
it is.
to make sure that the QMS is tip-top shape.
That's a great way to put it. And here's something really important to remember. Internal audits aren't about finding fault.
Okay.
It's not about pointing fingers.
Got it.
It's about identifying opportunities for improvement and making sure that the QMS is adding value to the organization.
So it's a very constructive process.
It is.
Focused on making the QMS better.
Exactly. And sometimes during these audits, or even just during normal operations,
Yeah.
you might come across situations where things aren't quite right.
Oh, okay.
where there are deviations from the QMS requirements. These are called nonconformities.
Nonconformities are those like little hiccups in the system?
You could say that.
Okay.
It's when the QMS isn't being followed or it's not achieving the intended outcomes. And it's important to remember that nonconformities are inevitable,
Right.
even in like the best designed QMS.
Makes sense.
What matters is how we manage them.
Okay, so how do we deal with those hiccups
Well,
effectively?
ISO 9001 outlines a very systematic process for managing nonconformities.
Okay.
So that typically involves identifying, documenting, analyzing the root cause, and then taking corrective action to prevent it from happening again.
So it's like a problem-solving exercise.
It is.
It's turning a negative into a positive.
Exactly. And in fact, one of the sources even mentioned how some companies have used nonconformity management to drive innovation and improve customer satisfaction.
Wow, so they took it even a step further.
They did.
Okay.
Like there was an example about a manufacturing company who discovered a packaging flaw through their nonconformity process.
Right.
And instead of just fixing the immediate issue, they redesigned the packaging entirely
Oh, wow.
to be more user-friendly and durable.
That's a brilliant example
Yeah.
of turning a potential disaster into an opportunity to make their product even better.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of positive change, isn't continuous improvement at the very heart of ISO 9000?
It absolutely is. Continuous improvement is about constantly striving to enhance efficiency, effectiveness, and customer satisfaction.
Right.
It's a journey, not a destination.
I like that.
And it's baked into the ISO 9000 philosophy.
So how do we actually do continuous improvement within a QMS? Where do we even begin?
Well, the PDCA cycle provides a really great framework for driving continuous improvement. It stands for Plan, Do, Check, Act.
Plan, Do, Check, Act. Okay,
Yeah.
break it down for me. How does that work in practice?
So in the plan phase, you identify areas for improvement and develop a plan to address them.
Got it.
So this includes setting objectives, defining actions, and allocating resources.
Okay.
And then comes the do phase,
Mhm.
where you actually put that plan into action
Right.
and gather data on its effectiveness.
So we're getting the facts and figures
Exactly.
before we make any changes.
And then in the check phase, you analyze all that data you collected in the do phase to see if the plan is working.
Right.
Are you hitting your objectives? Are there any unexpected results? It's about evaluating how effective your actions were.
Taking a step back to make sure you're on the right track.
You got it. And then based on all those insights you get from the check phase,
Yeah.
you move on to the act phase.
Okay.
This is where you take any corrective actions,
Uh-huh.
implement any necessary improvements to the plan, and document all the lessons learned.
So it's this cyclical process of constantly learning and evolving.
Yes. The PDCA cycle really emphasizes that continuous improvement is an iterative process.
Right.
It's about making small changes over time
Okay.
to refine your processes, products, and services.
This is really starting to make a lot of sense to me.
Good.
It seems like ISO 9000 is more than just a set of standards.
It is.
It's a way of thinking about quality that can transform an organization.
It's about embedding a culture of quality throughout the organization from top to bottom.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground already, from the 7 principles of quality management
Yeah.
to the importance of documentation,
Yeah.
internal audits,
Yes.
and the power of continuous improvement.
We have.
But we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore in the world of ISO 9000.
So much more.
So join us for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper
We will.
into some of the more advanced concepts and practical applications of this amazing framework.
We'll be right back.
See you soon.
Yes. Welcome back to our deep dive into ISO 9000.
I'm ready to uncover even more about these standards and how they can help us go beyond meeting expectations
Yeah.
to exceeding them.
One thing that often comes up is the idea of risk.
Ooh, yeah, that is a bit of a loaded word, isn't it?
It is right. So how does ISO 9000 deal with risk?
Yeah, that's a good question, because sometimes it feels like risk is just lurking around every corner in business.
Right. Well, in the past, quality management was often about reacting to problems after they happened.
Yeah.
But ISO 9001.2015 brought in a really important shift, and it's called risk-based thinking.
Risk-based thinking. Okay, I like the sound of that. What does that mean?
It means being proactive. So instead of waiting for something to go wrong, you identify the potential risks and opportunities that could impact your quality management system and then take steps to address them before they become a problem.
So it's like having a sixth sense for what could go wrong and then planning for it.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's about looking ahead, anticipating potential challenges, and being prepared to adapt and respond.
I like it. One of the sources mentioned that Risk-based thinking is all about asking the right questions.
Yes.
Like, what could prevent us from consistently meeting those customer needs?
Yes.
Or what are the potential threats and opportunities in our market?
Exactly. It's about constantly scanning the horizon, identifying those potential roadblocks, and figuring out how to navigate around them.
So how do we put that into practice?
It starts with a structured process for risk assessment.
Okay.
So this involves identifying the potential risks, analyzing how likely they are to occur, and what the impact would be if they did occur.
Right.
And then developing strategies to manage those risks.
It seems like having a clear process is really important.
It is.
And quality management.
It helps ensure that nothing falls through the cracks.
Right.
And it's also important to remember that risk-based thinking is not just about avoiding negative outcomes.
Yeah.
It's also about recognizing and seizing opportunities for improvement.
Can you give us a real-world example of how this might work?
Sure. So imagine a company that makes medical devices.
Okay.
They might identify a potential risk of a disruption in their supply chain for a critical component.
Oh, that could be a big problem.
It could be a huge problem.
Yeah.
So using risk-based thinking, they would analyze how likely that disruption is,
Okay.
the potential impact on their production and delivery timelines, and how it could affect their ability to meet customer demand.
And then they would come up with strategies to minimize that risk.
Exactly. They might diversify their suppliers, find alternative sources for that component, or even explore different manufacturing processes that wouldn't be as vulnerable to that supply chain issue.
That's a great example of how being proactive and thinking ahead can really make an organization more resilient.
It can, and it highlights how ISO 9001 encourages a strategic approach to quality.
Okay, so we've talked about risk-based thinking,
Yes.
but one of the articles we read also dives into Lean Six Sigma.
Yeah.
What's the connection there?
Well, Lean Six Sigma is a methodology
Okay.
that can be integrated with the ISO 9000 framework to drive process improvement and
Gotcha.
boost efficiency.
I've heard the term before, but I'm not sure I totally understand what it is.
Sure. So Lean Six Sigma is a combination of two approaches.
Okay.
Lean, which is all about eliminating waste and streamlining processes, and Six Sigma, which focuses on reducing variations and defects.
So it's like a dynamic duo of process improvement techniques.
Yes, exactly. So Lean helps you identify and eliminate activities that don't add value,
Okay.
while Six Sigma gives you the tools and techniques to analyze and improve processes to make them more consistent and reliable.
One of the articles mentioned something called the 8 wastes in Lean.
Yeah.
What are those?
Well, the 8 wastes are defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent transportation, inventory motion, and extra processing.
Wow. Okay. So basically anything that doesn't directly contribute to delivering value to the customer,
That's right.
I can see how eliminating that waste could have a big impact.
It can significantly increase efficiency, reduce costs, and improve customer satisfaction.
It's a win-win-win.
It is a win-win-win.
So how does Lean Six Sigma work in practice? What does the process look like?
So just like ISO 9001, Lean Six Sigma is very structured.
There's that structure again.
There it is. It's key.
It seems like having a clear framework is so important in quality management.
It helps ensure that you're thorough, consistent, and ultimately effective.
Tell me more about the process.
Okay, so a common framework is DMAIC, which stands for Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, and Control.
DMAIC. Got it. So what happens in each of those phases?
So in the define phase, you clearly articulate the problem or the opportunity you're addressing.
Okay.
Set your project goals and establish the scope of what you're working on.
Got it.
Then in the measure phase, you gather data to understand how the process is currently performing.
So you get the facts and figures.
Yes, you get a baseline to measure your improvements against.
Okay.
And then in the analyze phase, you dig into that data using statistical tools and techniques to really identify the root causes of the problem. And then you brainstorm potential solutions.
It's like detective work, figuring out what's really going on beneath the surface.
That's a great way to think about it.
I like that.
And once you've identified the root causes,
Yeah.
you move to the improve phase where you put those solutions into action.
Got it into practice.
Yes, and test their effectiveness.
See if it actually moved the needle.
Exactly. And finally, in the control phase, you establish mechanisms to monitor the improved process.
Right.
To ensure that those gains you made are sustained over time.
You don't want to slip back into old habits?
No, you don't want to go backwards.
Okay.
And this is where the principles of ISO 9001, like documentation, internal audits, and continuous improvement really come into play.
All right.
They help ensure that those positive changes stick.
So Lean Six Sigma and ISO 9001, they work together really well,
They do. They complement each other very nicely.
each one supporting the other.
Lean Six Sigma gives you that toolkit for driving improvement, while ISO 9001 creates that framework for a robust quality management system.
One of the sources actually mentioned a tool called a fishbone diagram.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
So the fishbone diagram, sometimes called an Ishikawa diagram, is a visual brainstorming tool used to identify potential causes of a problem.
Okay,
It helps you break down a complex issue into smaller, more manageable pieces.
I can see how that would be helpful.
Yeah, and the diagram looks like a fish skeleton
Okay.
with the problem written at the head, and then you identify the major categories of potential causes.
Okay.
Things like people, processes, materials, equipment, environment, and you list those along the bones of the fish.
Oh, okay.
And then you brainstorm specific causes within each category.
So it's like a mind map for problem solving.
It is. And it's just one of many tools used in Lean Six Sigma. There's a whole toolbox full of techniques for analyzing and improving processes.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. The principles of ISO 9000, risk-based thinking, the power of Lean Six Sigma, and some of the tools that are used for quality improvement. But before we move on, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the future of quality management. What trends are you seeing?
That's a great question. So one trend that's gaining momentum is the integration of technology into quality management systems.
Technology, yeah, I can see how that would play a role.
Right. So we're seeing more companies use software solutions to automate a lot of the tasks involved in quality management,
Okay.
like document control, data analysis, and reporting.
So leveraging technology to make things more efficient and streamlined.
Exactly. And those software solutions can also provide real-time data and insights
Okay.
that can help organizations make better decisions about quality.
One of the sources mentioned something called Quality 4.0. What is that?
Quality 4.0 is all about integrating digital technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the Internet of Things into quality management systems.
Wow, those are some really cutting-edge technologies.
They are. It's a really exciting area.
I can only imagine what those could do for quality.
Think about using sensors and data analytics to monitor production processes in real time.
Okay.
So you could identify and address potential quality issues before they even happen.
It's like having a crystal ball for quality control.
It is. Quality 4.0 is all about harnessing the power of technology to take quality to a whole new level, increase efficiency, and create even more customer-centric experiences.
It sounds like the future of quality management is going to be pretty amazing,
It is. It's a very dynamic and constantly evolving field.
which is what makes it so fascinating.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a truly eye-opening journey. So far, we've gone from the basic principles of ISO 9000 to exploring those more advanced concepts like risk-based thinking, Lean Six Sigma, and even the future of quality management with Quality 4.0.
And we've just scratched the surface.
There's still so much more to discover about the power of this framework.
There's a lot more to uncover.
So join us for part 3,
Yes.
where we wrap up our exploration of ISO 9000 and leave you with some actionable insights that you can take away and apply in your own work and life. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into ISO 9000.
Come a long way.
We've explored the principles, the processes, the potential of this framework.
The incredible potential.
And now we want to kind of bring it all together and leave you with some key takeaways that you can actually use in your own work and life.
Because ultimately that's what it's all about, right?
Okay.
Putting this into action.
So let's revisit the big picture for a moment. What's at the core of ISO 9000?
Well, at its core, ISO 9000 is about creating a culture of quality
Okay.
within an organization. It's about embedding that commitment to excellence
Right.
in everything you do, from the products and services you offer to the way you manage your processes to how you interact with your customers.
One of the articles described it as a holistic approach
Yes.
to quality.
I love that description.
Me too.
Because it's not just about checking boxes or meeting minimum requirements. It's about striving for continuous improvement and building a really solid foundation for lasting success.
So let's say an organization is thinking about implementing ISO 9000. Where should they start?
Well, the first step is really understanding the principles and the requirements of the standard.
Okay.
So ISO 9000 itself provides a great overview of the fundamental concepts.
Got it.
while ISO 9001 lays out the specific requirements for actually building a quality management system.
So it's really about doing your homework first
It is.
before diving in
Understand the framework before you jump in. Yeah.
and getting everyone involved.
Yes.
Right from the top all the way down.
Top to bottom, everybody needs to be on board.
And speaking of commitment, one of the articles we read really emphasized the importance of leadership
Absolutely.
to make this whole thing work.
Leaders have to be champions for quality.
Yeah.
They have to set the tone, provide the resources, and empower everyone to embrace the principles
Right.
of ISO 9000.
It goes back to that idea of walking the talk.
It does.
Yeah.
It can't just be words. They have to actually demonstrate that commitment
Yeah.
through their actions and create an environment where quality is truly valued.
Okay, so we've got leadership on board. We've done our homework. Everybody's ready to go. What are some of those concrete steps that organizations can take to implement this?
Well, once you have a good understanding of the standard, you need to define the scope of your quality management system.
Right.
So what's included and what's not included.
Setting those boundaries.
Yes, setting those boundaries up front is really important.
Like drawing a map of your quality journey.
It is.
Figuring out the terrain you'll be covering.
Exactly. And then comes the crucial step of documenting your processes.
Yes, the documentation.
Develop clear procedures. Establish a system for controlling those documents.
Right.
Documentation is the backbone of a good quality management system.
And what about those internal audits? Those are like regular checkups to make sure everything is running smoothly.
They are absolutely essential. Internal audits help verify that your QMS is not only meeting the ISO 9001 requirements, but also being implemented effectively every day.
And of course, we can't talk about ISO 9000 without mentioning customer focus.
Of course not. It's at the heart of the framework.
One of the sources actually talked about having planned arrangements for communicating with customers.
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means being proactive and strategic.
Okay.
Establish clear channels for gathering feedback, responding to inquiries, and addressing complaints.
So it's about building those relationships and creating a positive customer experience
It is.
at every touch point.
At every touch point, that's right.
Well, this has been a very insightful deep dive.
It has.
As we wrap things up, what are your final thoughts on ISO 9000 and its power to transform?
You know what I find really inspiring about ISO 9000 is that it goes beyond simply achieving a certain level of quality.
Okay.
It's about fostering a mindset
Yeah.
of continuous improvement, encouraging innovation, and creating a culture that is truly customer-centric.
It's about constantly striving to do better, deliver that exceptional value, and make a difference.
Exactly.
Well said. We hope this deep dive has equipped you with a deeper understanding of ISO 9000
We do.
and inspired you to embark on your own quality journey.
Your own quality adventure.
Remember, quality isn't a destination. It's an ongoing process.
It is a journey.
Embrace the challenges,
Yes.
the learning, and the transformative power of ISO 9000.
It can really transform your business.
Thanks for joining us
Thanks for having me.
on this incredible deep dive. Until next time, keep seeking knowledge
Keep learning.
and keep striving for excellence.
Always be improving.